Hey guys, today we are going to be talking about our gear. But it's not just about our gear. It's like the bike. The bike is just the vehicle of discovery. It's not about the bike at all. It's the same with our gear. It's really not about the gear. The gear is just the vehicle to get us into a state of flow. And you may say, Lane, what is flow? Flow is what's called optimal experience. You probably heard about people saying that they're in the zone, where they don't worry about food or sleep or anything else around them. They're so immersed in the moment that they are in a state of flow. That is where we want to be. Now, the hiccup to that is that oftentimes we can be yanked out of flow by the rain or the wind or by hunger. And when that happens, we want to be able to grab our gear quickly, readily accessible, without having to scramble through our trailer searching for the raincoat. And meanwhile, the rain is trickling down our throat, down the back of our neck, and inside the trailer because we can't find what we need. So in order to help us get to a state of flow, we're going to use something called 4A organization. And it's very simple. 1, assemble your gear. 2, allocate every piece of gear to a zone, and then assign each zone to a place in the trailer or in the panniers, and then always, always, always put it back. You can see here for last year's trek, or for 2021's trek, I laid everything out on the living room floor, organized into zones. And I'm going to go through them quickly. You have already a gear list that you can go through, but I will go through these quickly so that you just know. Zone 1 is the garage, and that's everything that you would expect to find in your garage, such as your helmet, your lights, the front and rear, your lock and key, your spare tubes or sealant if you use tubeless tires, a cycling-specific multi-tool, a pump and patch kit, which includes your tire levers, along with your spare derailleur hanger. Let me take a note here and emphasize how imperative it is that you go now to your bike shop and get a spare derailleur hanger. If that breaks, you're done. And it's not because we want you to be cast out. You just can rarely find the right derailleur hanger out on the open road. But if you can go right now to your bike shop and get one, then you have it in case something happens out on the track. That actually happened to a guy. Pew cracked his, I think, day 2 or 3. We went to a bike shop. They said, oh, yeah, there's like no chance that we have one that works. And so he limped along, and then day 7, it actually snapped completely. The miracle was it was right in front of a bike shop, and the bike shop owner was right out in front and said, well, you're not going to go any further on that bike, sir. Why don't you come in? I think I got a bike for you that you can borrow. And for 10 euros, so about $12, he rented him a bike that he used for the last 3 days. That was amazing. We don't want you to have to be put in that circumstance, though. So get your spare derailleur hanger. Okay, that moves us to zone 2, the bedroom. And this is basically how you sleep. So your tent or your bivy sack, your sleeping bag, your sleeping pad, and your pillow. I also use a cot, totally optional. You can do that if you want. It's added burden, added expense. Many people just use the pad. Quick note though, make sure your sleeping bag is rated to a low enough temperature that you're comfortable on the track. Same with your sleeping pad. Make sure it's a high enough insulation value to shield you from the cold of Mother Earth. Okay, so zone 3 is basically everything we wear. This includes our jerseys, our cycling shorts or bibs, socks. I totally recommend wool socks as well as other lightweight cycling socks. Your underwear for the evening, and rain gear. Now, Some people love having rain pants. I'm not a fan. I just end up getting wet anyway. But a rain jacket with a rain hood, totally indispensable. And you'll want cold weather gear such as a base layer made out of wool that fits right up next to the skin. And then you want detergent and a clothesline. Now, why a clothesline? In the United States, many of the campsites will have a washer and dryer. Not so in most of the rest of the world. They might have a washing machine, but if you want to dry your clothes, you got to string up a clothesline in between a couple of trees and then hang your clothes overnight so that hopefully they're dry by the morning. Okay, so zone 4 is the bathroom. And these are pretty standard. Your toiletries, such as your towel, make sure it's big enough. Your body wash, your medications and vitamins. I recommend a travel-sized toothbrush and toothpaste. And then you don't need a full-blown first aid kit, but get a few bandages and make sure you put them in a Ziploc bag. And then sunscreen and lip balm so you can shield your body from the intensity of the sun. Okay, now zone 5 is our kitchen. And it is true that oftentimes we will eat at a cafe or a restaurant. I mean, hey, we want the cuisine of the country. But most of the time we will be preparing our own food. So you want a stove and fuel. You oftentimes cannot carry this on the airplane, so just think about getting it once we land in the country. Then you want a mess kit, such as a pot, a pan, plate, utensils, a spork, which triples as a knife, a fork and spoon. That works great. You want some spare food, like a few extra dehydrated meals, as well as oatmeal, some packets of spiced cider, coffee, tea, hot chocolate, whatever you use, and then liquid soap so you can clean up. Okay, zone 6 is the office. And I know you're probably thinking, but Lane, I want to disconnect from work and all my office duties. Yes, but you'll also need a couple of things, such as a really good camera, such as one that you find on most of the phones these days, or grab an extra one. Then be sure you have a power bank so that if we are stuck in the forest or in between campgrounds, you can recharge your device, your camera, your phone, whatever you have. Make sure you get an international electric adapter. It's crazy. You know, you'd think that the world would just use one uniform plug-in. Ha! No, it doesn't work that way. Make sure you have cables for recharging, along with a pen for journaling and a holder for your passport, credit cards, cash, all of that. Okay, so after we've divided it into zones, what next? Once we put it in the trailer, it's all going to get into a jumbled mess, right? Ah, yes, it will, unless we organize it using some organizing bags. These are my two favorite kind of organizing bags. On the left, there's a company called the Eagle Creek that makes different size of really sturdy, breathable packing bags. And I use those for all the clothes. For other things like toiletries and utensils and your garage, you may want to use these Cotopaxi bags. They're no two alike. Each one is a slightly different color. They're really strong. They're a little heavier than the Eagle Creek bags, but they're great for creating a mental map of recognition. This colored bag, that's my utensils. Then, of course, we want to assign a place for everything that we have. I'll give you a quick mock-up here. This is an example of a trailer where you see the arm leading from the trailer to the bike. You see the front of the trailer and the rear of the trailer. And things that you'll only use like once a day. For example, your sleeping gear. You'll only access it at night. Go ahead and push that up to the front where it's a little more difficult to access. Then your garage, your office, kitchen, you might want to put those in the rear. Especially things you want to quickly access, like snacks, water. You want those at the rear where you can just quickly zip open the zipper. Boom, got your stuff. You got your bathroom, stick that in there someplace as well as your laundry. And I will always put rain and cold weather gear right on top. It is the most accessible point of the entire trailer. And if you have a bike with panniers or saddlebags, you apply the same principles, just allocate them differently for your front pannier or your rear pannier, and make sure you know which one it is, whether it's left or right. And I've actually gone through the trouble of labeling each one. I will write front L, so front left on one of my panniers, or rear R for the rear one. Then always put it back. So really funny story for you. Hal has been on numerous treks with me. Just love the guy. Our first trek, he just threw everything together in his panniers. And every morning he'd spend about 30 to 45 minutes trying to figure out where his stuff was and where it should go. And finally, about partway through the trek, he said, I got to get a system of organizing. And at the time, he was my first client ever. And so I hadn't put in the time or attention to help people. And I certainly didn't help him. I'm sure he could blame me. But he learned to get a system of organization. Now later, he also joined me on another trek from Budapest to Prague. And at the end of day one, he said, "Lane, where in the dickens is my fork? I had a spoon, actually, a metal spoon, really lightweight. I can't find it. Do you happen to have an extra one for me?" And I did, handed it to him. Anyway, we went through the entire trek. Went through Hungary, Slovakia, Austria, Czech Republic. And the very last day, as he's getting everything ready for the flight back, he calls out to me with a sheepish grin, holds up a spoon and says, "Here it is, Lane. I told you I had it, and now I remember what happened. On the flight in, I got it out. For some reason, I was eating something, and I had the bag that it goes in, but it was buried at the bottom of my pannier. And I thought, I don't want to take the time to open up the pannier and get it out because it's all the way buried at the bottom. So I'll just stick it here in this other compartment." And then because it wasn't where it should be, I totally forgot where I put it. So if you know that your pillow is always at the front right, then day or night, you don't need a flashlight or anything else. You can just zip in, boom, grab your pillow and use it. Same way with a fork or spoon or anything else. Okay, so here's the homework. First of all, get your gear list and review it to see what you want to leave out and what you want to add to the gear list, the one that I provided you. Then assemble your gear, everything. Get everything you are going to use on the trek, organize it into bags, and actually pack it. That will create a mental map that you can use right now, and on the trek, you will be free of that kind of agitation and more likely to be in this blissful state of flow. All right? So there you go. Get going, and we'll see you in the next module.